Salim, how's it going? Yeah, okay.
Okay, good evening, good afternoon, fans from around the world. ZUMA's revenge, leveling the field of play in South Africa electoral politics and forcing ANC and the other parties to come together for the good of the country. This is a historic election. Early results show that long-ruling African National Congress is losing outright. They have held a stranglehold on this election since 1994. About 34% of the votes counted, the ANC sits under 42%. With me to take a bird's eye view on these matters and issues is Mustafa Jinado, all the way from Washington. Mustafa, welcome. And
Welcome.
Salim,
I'm here
you're
from
welcome
Washington,
to the
D.C.,
show.
but thank you, Salim. How are things in
District of Columbia.
Mpumalanga? Oh yeah, I'm in District of Columbia. But I want to say hello to Papa Zuma. And let me briefly say this. So Zuma, I think he's maybe coming third behind DA, not Zuma, but his party. Let's remember, this is not about Zuma, it's about the party. They can try what they want to and make him not sit on parliament. He can't sit on parliament. We don't care. And I'm not supporting MK, but what I'm saying is I'm proud of Zuma. He created he didn't create a party. He stood back in his homeland and brought people together. And in their first elections, they come third and they undermine ANC, which needs to be undermined because ANC has not delivered services as they should have, and the promise of better lives for South Africans. Okay, so quickly again, so I say, yeah, so Zuma, we want to thank him for what he's done because he's an African statesman. Whether you agree with him or not, he's an African statesman. He took a balanced view when the US and other countries were going against Libya and Gaddafi. We're not saying who was right or wrong, but he tried to broker peace. He also brokered peace in KZN when he was much younger before he started going bald. Okay. That's back in his 40s. There were uprisings in KZN, and he stifled it and suppressed it and brought peace. I don't know many of the details of the uprisings, but it was serious. And so that's one thing you notice with Zuma. Through all trials and tribulations, he still has a smile, and he's not loud like me or loud like who's our kid who runs the EFF, Malema. He keeps quiet, but he's a mannerable person, and he's made some very good results. So now ANC is going to have to figure out how they coalesce with other groups to keep their power. So I want to say coalitions only work when each party needs to keep a certain amount of power and meet a certain amount of their agenda. It's not like they really want to work together, but they have to. So Salim, can you give us a breakdown on that idea? Yeah.
I was just checking the article, the stats on the votes.
Yeah, it keeps changing. So yeah, let us know what's going on now. Yeah.
The ANC is sitting on around about 40.27%. The DA is sitting around about 21.69%, and MK is sitting on
14. Yeah.
I think that was basically provincial. And then EFF is on 9.46%, which, from my perspective, I think MK did well.
Oh yeah, no, they did well to take that many because they took votes. If not for MK, ANC would have 51% probably, because those MK votes would have gone to ANC. Yeah.
And mind you, it's national. It's not provincial or local. It's national.
Oh, national. Yeah. That's what provincial is going to be different. Yeah.
They're actually ahead when it comes to KZN. But from my perspective, I think a lot of people they're still stuck in the past. They have this idea of if they don't vote for the ANC, it's basically they will lose grants and all of that, but which was basically written down in the Freedom Charter of South Africa, whereby people were supposed to get specific amounts of money every month, from the old to the young. Specific grants were supposed to be. So whatever party votes, at the end of the day, you are going to have a specific amount of money in your account as a old person of age or young. So I think the votes actually were a bit quiet. I won't lie. Besides the saga of specific truck getting lost during the election, I think 3 days ago, which is weird.
You know what's funny? Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. It's funny that it seems like the elections are quiet on your side. That's all. I feel like, tell the truth. In the U.S. and in Nigeria, isn't that all we see on TV now? Elections, ANC is losing.
Yes,
ANC is losing.
it's usually very volatile, noisy, and boisterous.
Yeah, so that just goes to show you how outside perspective is different. Because to me, I would have thought that, oh, it's like a festival over there, and that's all the news is talking about. And even on our YouTube channel that we do our show, we usually have 70 viewers for our show. We had 600. And I noticed that most of the people who were commenting were, at least more than half of them were from the US and Great Britain. And they were like, oh yeah, we're happy to see discussion coming to South Africa about changes. And also it's the South African news.
But that's
the news that they
start.
project to the start, yeah. And the South African news that's projected to the rest of the world has been making it a big story. So what are your thoughts, Salim? Yeah.
Well, for an insider, since we're here, I
Yeah.
want to say outside before what's really going on, because we are only stuck in the inside. And why I say it was quiet, there were some who went to long lives for that, but it didn't feel like, you know, that fever, that election fever that you have. It's like, oh, now something's gonna happen, or
Yeah. And to me, that's a good sign, because it tells me that people know. And we were talking about this earlier. We know that elections is not the main is not the main thing that changes the country. There needs to be a grassroots movement in South Africa. There needs to be a grassroots movement where people are taking the values that can help your society and make the country better, and push forward a revolution. When I say revolution, I don't mean violent, but I mean, not chaos, but there needs to be some serious changes, like maybe labor unions, people going on strike and things like that, until the politicians listen. But I think the first sign of that happening now is that there was low voter turnout, which means people are losing faith in ANC. So that's the first step. So now the politicians, they're still going to have power and things aren't going to change. That's why maybe I'm wrong. Do you think people are pessimistic about the future of South Africa, especially young people? Personally, I am right now. Unless some serious things change. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Having had a conversation with a close friend of mine, I think two days ago when I went to a vote, actually. So we listened to somebody have this conversation based on why they would actually vote for the ANC and whatnot. In other words, they try to convince us otherwise. But we didn't say who we were going to vote for, so we didn't mind, actually.
Yeah.
So we had this conversation, and in my mind, it's just like, I feel like the older generation still wants to pull back and be like, no, because they actually liberated us from the struggle and that, which is, I won't say it's true per se. It's basically the specific individual that we actually forget about. That PRTY is not something about now. MK, it's not something about now. It's something from back in the day, at the times of the ANC. So it's something that has just came to actually just be like, we have liberated South Africa to where it is today, but we want to move forward to the future. Understand? And now,
I think he's breaking. Mute him for a second. Yeah, you're beginning to break. I hear radio sounds and stuff. Yeah. Afolabi, are you recording? Is it recording?
It's recording. I'm recording.
Okay. Sometimes I'm paranoid. I'm always scared that at the end of the show we'll realize that it didn't record. So let's mute him for a second. But let's talk about coalition. So to me, coalitions is too simple a word. What does it mean? Oh, my party would join your party. No, that's not how the world works. There have to be some technical things that take into place.
Of course, they have to be united in ideology.
Yeah, or be able to find middle ground where they can unite despite their different ideologies.
Because if you look at the ANC, the ANC was historically started by Nelson Mandela, and Julius Malema had broke out from the ANC. But now it appears the ANC is now
mute Salim, mute him, please.
Okay. It appears the ANC is now more of a party that people really don't want to join. It's like they've monopolized power, and it's becoming intrinsically difficult for people to align with their ideologies, because people are complaining of corruption and things have not improved. ANC has held a stronghold of power since 1994, and things don't appear to improve. Look at the water issue and so many other things. So people want a difference, but they feel that if they coalesce, they're in a better position to fight against the ANC. But if you look at the early results, it appears the EFF are just about 10% off the mark. They don't look like as if they're going to stop ANC from doing anything. What do you think,
No,
Mustafa?
I don't think DA will ever do that. Because I keep saying to people, it's not a racist statement, but in an African nation, whether or not DA should run things or not, it's not going to happen because the pain of apartheid and 300 years of violence is too strong. And we also want to mention something. DA supposedly has the highest service delivery in South Africa. It's true. But if you look at it internally and you look at the distribution within Cape Town, those areas. So DA, what I mean by DA, the Cape province has the best service delivery. It's because that's where
Democratic Alliance.
that's where the most whites and rich and foreigners live. But also in that same area, so it looks good because of the distribution. Oh, you have the highest amount of service delivery. But when you look at it, blacks and coloreds suffer a lot more there than they do in the other provinces like Gauteng
But you know
and
the
KZN.
interesting thing, they are selling the narrative that they're not racist, but it appears as if their policies are going to be racist. I stand to be corrected,
and here's
but
what I'll say.
Salim is back.
Yeah. So what I will say is that whether they are racist or not, their policies are skewed and biased towards whites, middle class, and foreign interests. So notice I'm not calling them racist, but there's a racial skew with their policies. And that has to change because South Africa is a majority Black nation, and it also has different groups. So what we want is inclusiveness for every group. We want policies that make sure that every group does well. And I think that's the main thing. It's up to the economists and the scientists and the philosophers and the activists to figure out the details. So are you back, Salim? How's things?
Yes, Salim is back, yes.
I think my network is a bit bad this side.
Yeah. We know you're
What do you
in
say? Yeah, we can't hear much. The connection is really bad. Yeah.
I can hear him though. He's back anyway.
Okay. So what are your thoughts? Let's continue where we left off with you. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Salim, what are your thoughts?
Overhead on the DA part of it, I just say that they haven't done anything in Cape Flats. Basically, that's where they're actually dominant in the Western. Coming to Gauteng, it has been a mixture of assassinations and mayors. So it's a mixture. You don't have like the DA per se. You don't have the ANC.
Yeah, it's more cosmopolitan. Yeah.
Yes, it's more cosmopolitan. Absolutely.
Yeah.
More trying to get that
and diverse. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think being here and having to realize that there's no play made by the DA. They haven't done anything in Mpumalanga per se.
Yeah, so you can't even relate to them. And that's a good point you have. You have no reason to relate. And you have no reason to believe if they come into power that you'll have service delivery in your area. Yeah, continue. Sorry.
Segregation in the Western Cape, and I know we have witnessed it before, the segregation in the Western Cape, whereby you can actually tell by the wealth that on the other side it's well developed, on the other side it's just, I would say it's World War III, if I'm correct.
Yeah, Clay Flats. And you guys, I lived in South Africa. I barely got out of the flats alive. That's all I'll say. Party. No, I'm serious. Hanging out with people and partying. I'm so lucky to be alive today. And it sounds like a joke, but it means I was there and I saw what was happening. Tick, prostitution, gangs, 27s, and all those guys. If you piss off some guys, like I never belonged to gangs, but maybe I just respect somebody because of a female. They will come after me. I'm not judging them. I'm saying the conditions in Cape Town is a war zone. I'm not lying to you. They're ranked top 10 in the world for murder rate. So that's all I have to say. Continue, Salim. Yeah.
So I have nothing against the DA, hold on. But I haven't seen anything that's credible from them. You understand that? I could actually be like, where I stay, DA actually did put in some work, you know. Go back in time, maybe 2015, coming till now, we know who built the specific roads, specific parties, and the VF. We actually forget about those specific parties, and we're just going to point out that, oh yeah, the DA, the Democratic Alliance, they even said it themselves that they've categorized the racial slur of that. We already have 3 specific groups where we have 3% of black people that vote for us. We have 3% of
so they're taking numbers. Yeah, they're taking numbers, man. And they remember who votes for them and who doesn't, right?
Yeah. Exactly. So I still ask the question that who's benefiting from the whole DA Democratic Alliance when they actually.
I'll tell you who it is. And here's my theory. It's not even white people. It's white corporate interests. The Cape area, um, that province, the Cape. What do they call it? What's the name of the province? Western Cape. Um, a lot of the land is owned by Belgian and French and German banks and interests, and they pump money into that place. That's why it's richer. So you still see a lot of poor white people there, but it's not as bad with the blacks. So what I'm trying to say is that, and this is why whites are leaving South Africa also, because it's falling apart. So we have to remember, DA doesn't really represent the common white man. It represents the elite white man, the farm owners, and the businessmen. And maybe you can correct me, because I want to see what your view is on that. Yeah.
When you talk about most farm owners, I think most of them. I think there's categories.
Can I add one more point? A lot of the people who own farms, small farms like the Boers, they're actually still getting loans from banks which are linked to France and stuff. So I'm saying they're dependent on an outside country. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of the land in the Western Cape is owned by foreign entities. But continue, yeah.
I think they actually have their own banks in South Africa. Farmers. They don't put in ABSA, they don't put in Standard. They have their own.
Yeah, they have their banks, but you have to remember, for their money in their banks to have value. So my argument, maybe I'm wrong, a lot of the banks that they have there are subsidiaries of foreign banks. But you understand what I'm saying? To keep them, especially because it has to be backed by gold. And I don't know who controls most of the gold in South Africa. I think it's the British or something. Continue. Yeah.
I'll do my research on that one.
Yeah, this is a tough one. We're getting into some critical discussion now, but yeah, continue with your thought anyway. Yeah, so let's see what you have to say, because you were talking about the farm owners and stuff, and South Africa has the whites. Not the whites, but in those areas they have their own banks. Yeah. Okay.
So there's a place in the Eastern Cape where half of the community does not work. So there is a specific farm owner who brings food. Specific potatoes, tomatoes, which my question is, what is the government doing about that? The specific people that we are actually voting for,
they're not doing anything. And also, there's a place in South Africa called Oran where if you're black, you can't even go there. So I'm wondering, how does the government allow that to happen in your own country? Come on, it's not fair. Or is that a joke or something? Yeah.
Orania, there was somebody who actually voted for the EFF.
Yeah.
During in Orania at the moment, somebody actually voted for the EFF, which is it has turned like in Twitter trending. They say they want to look for that person.
They're going to look for that guy. Oh my God, that guy needs to be careful. Maybe Salim. Maybe it's Post Malone. or Eminem, if you know what I mean. or Mac Miller. Post Andre. Continue. Sorry. Yeah.
Just to think of it, there's so many things that I think it's much more controversial at the moment, that we have so many parties in South Africa. Like if you look at the scale, or if you look at the ballot paper, we saw it. There are so many political parties in South Africa at the moment.
Because people want some money. I think each one wants a piece of the pie. They want some money, man. It's becoming a business scheme. Continue. I'm going to go get something, but continue talking to Falabi. Sorry. Okay.
So we have, I think we have a struggle at the moment where a lot of people, I would say 20 plus of these parties don't have the same mindset or the same goal to actually focus on South Africa moving forward. So that's one biggest part of it.
Okay. Yeah. So I feel like, how much time do we have left? And you know what? Let me tell you something, Salim. There's no way we can cover everything we wanted to talk about even in 40 minutes. This is something that could be broken into 6 episodes.
We have about 10 minutes left.
10 minutes. Okay, so we're gonna start to round up, because this is I thought that we could do all of this in 30 minutes, but now we're beginning to see how complicated the problem is.
So we're gonna end. Are still being counted. It would reach maybe like
so we'll continue.
Before we get the clear picture.
So I'm going to ask Afolabi first, and I'm going to go Salim. How do you think a coalition would look, and what do you think some of the details would be in 2 minutes? Yeah.
Yeah, basically,
And between which parties? Yeah.
Julius Malema of EFF, Economic Freedom Fighters, was at the polls today, and even though his party were not at pole position to knock off the ANC, he seems to be happy with the thought of the coalition, anything but ANC. It appears they want anything but ANC. Any sort of coalition that can knock ANC off its perch is palatable for the other parties, really. Basically, and what Malema has been talking about is the wrong distribution of land to the people, and he has been really fighting against this.
Yeah. So at that point, this is where I'll depart you, because you brought up something very important.
Yeah.
And Salim said it. I think EFF is dreaming if they think you're just going to seize all the land in South Africa and say, oh, and redistribute it to people, which is what Zimbabwe tried to do. No way. And because there's even black areas. So I'm going to go, like, for example, KZN. That is a tribal area. That's some parts of it may be like kingdoms and stuff like that, kind of like in Yoruba land. You can't come to Isaliko and say, oh, the government now owns this land and we're going to do whatever we want.
It won't happen in Nigeria.
So it's the same thing. You can't go to the Zulu land and tell them we're going to take your land and now we're going to distribute it. So that's why we say we have to be realistic. So my argument is that minerals need to be nationalized. I don't care where you live in the country. If you have minerals, then the government will compensate you. But that money needs to go for the well-being of the whole country. Because as a sort of a negotiation, so the big chief, sort of like the Oba of Lagos, he's going to have to agree that, okay, we found oil in Lagos. You're still the Oba and you still get some of it, but we need to distribute this wealth for the whole country, not just for the North. Yeah. So what are your thoughts, Salim? And we'll end with that, with you, Salim. Your thoughts on how, because you talked about it, you can't just say land. And I think rather than saying land, I think we should nationalization of resources and minerals. And also that means if you own land, if you're a rich white farmer and you own land and you're a farmer, you keep your farm, but you're heavily taxed. And the money is distributed so that you have healthcare, the blacks have healthcare, the Indian population, everybody does. So what are your thoughts, Salim?
My thoughts is simple. We shouldn't be speaking about our land back and whatnot. Because what are we going to do with 40 acres? Number one, we don't even, some of us don't even know how to farm at the moment.
Yeah, so what's the use of I don't want 40 acres, man. Maybe 40 kilos. Let me stop. That's a bad joke. Yeah. Go ahead.
So having to think about it, like we can't be fighting for land that we can't even plant.
No. We need to find a balanced economic approach in which the wealth of the country helps everybody, but each person has. So this is sort of like we talk about Ubuntu, where Ubuntu, you can't just say everybody's together. We're all individuals too, and we're going to have some conflict, but we have to come up with a solution. So these words like land and alliance and coalition, they're too general. What we should say is that all four parties have interest. So I'm going to respect the DA. They have interest, but they have to figure out how to compromise. But also it's up to us as citizens of, not just citizens of South Africa, because I'm not a citizen, but us as Black people to come up with theories and come up with revolutionary movements, which make the politicians listen, because they won't listen. They won't listen until they know that you won't vote for them. And it even goes further than that. You have to start shutting down the economy, people going on strikes, because I believe in peaceful, I'm going to go back to Martin Luther King, peaceful protest, but protest is not enough. You actually have to go on strike and hurt the corporate interests which back these parties. All of these parties are backed by corporate interests, But the thing is, I want to say once again, because we're going to round off, congratulations to ZUMA's new party, which is doing pretty well. Congratulations to EFF for, I guess they're happy that they can get into a coalition. I'm even going to say congratulations to DA for remaining second. The reason I'm saying this is because we don't want there to be tension in South Africa, but we know that I don't vote for DA and I don't want to vote for them, but I'm going to respect them and say all the parties in South Africa need to work together. And later on, we can talk about an African Union where countries like Nigeria, Congo, and everything else, we start to respect our differences and come together. So I think that's the main thing. Thank you, guys. I thought we would be able to do a lot more of that. I'm happy with the show. So we're going to try to do this again on next Saturday. Because tomorrow we're going to be talking about Salim, I'm going to see you for Champions League tomorrow. Champions League post-match.
Yeah, Salim, it would be nice for you to be around. The post-match Champions League final, yeah.
Yeah. So thank you guys. Yes. And usually we want to continue with this series talking about South African elections, but we all have varying schedules. We might even be back tomorrow. I doubt it, but
Hopefully, if the
and
final
midweek.
results are announced tomorrow, we could have another show to just review it.
Yeah, we can do that in the evening. So Salim, are you working tomorrow or you're off tomorrow? Yeah.
Off tomorrow, so I'll be
Oh yeah,
available.
so we'll work it out. Yeah, so we'll work it out. Okay, you guys enjoy it because Champions League match is coming up in about 5 or 6 hours, and we'll see Real Madrid 2-1. All right, thank you guys. Okay.
All right, take care.
Thank you very much.